The Midden Mall with a hypermarket inside of it was about a 15-minute walk away from our Airbnb. So that's where we shop the most. They have much more seafood than meat available there. And I couldn't find any pork anywhere there in that hypermarket. There are a lot of Muslims in Malaysia, and especially where we were living, there it was really full of Muslims. But I thought in Malaysia, pork should actually be easily available. There was buffalo, very lean though, but cooked for long enough, actually quite tasty. The only beef I found was frozen ground beef in a tube. And it looked kind of weird, very lean, but it was super delicious. But I've never had ground beef before that tasted that way, so I think that's why it was so deliciously to me, because it was just different. If I would have only that ground beef available, I would get sick of it, I know it. But for those 20 days in Malaysia, it was super delicious. But I was worried. It tasted so differently, and also the color was so different. I was worried that it wasn't just beef, or that it was contaminated with something, or I don't know, that was just something wrong with it. So I read the package over and over and over again. I translated it again and again, and I asked Paul about it. I have Paul taste it, but it should be beef. Well, in Thailand and maybe also in Malaysia, a lot of times when they say beef, it's actually water buffalo. So maybe it was water buffalo, I don't know, or just some kind of beef I've never had before and just really tastes so differently. There was quite a selection of chicken and some lamb and some mutton, but the prices were great. So mutton shoulder steaks for 28.49 Malaysian ringgit. So that's $6.71 per kilo. 39.99 ringgit, $9.42 per kilo for lamb shoulder steaks. But it needed to be cooked for a long time to be tasty. It was quite tough. The mutton and the buffalo needed to be cooked at least 2 hours for it to be really tasty. Some even more. Otherwise, it was just too tough, the meat. The lamb shoulder steaks were so delicious. They were awesome. So I thought I would have to cook those also for at least 2 hours. So I thought beforehand I'm just gonna sear them. So I started searing them, and luckily I thought, oh, I'm gonna try a little bit before I cook the shit out of them. And holy shit, it was so delicious. It was still raw at certain parts, and like just amazing, like not tough at all. So yeah, mutton being the old version of a lamb, as being an old lamb, is of course much tougher, so you really need to cook the shit out of it. But because the lamb, it was shoulder and it looked kind of tough, you know, like shoulder meat can be tough too. I thought you would have to cook that also that long, but no. So luckily I didn't destroy them. If I would have cooked them for 2 hours or whatever, I would have destroyed them. They were so delicious, just barely seared on both sides, or just on one side seared and the other side still raw. Totally good. And so far I only had mutton that I cooked the shit out of it, because mutton is cheaper than lamb. Of course, usually the older animals are cheaper. So but then the lamb, as mentioned, is still also pretty cheap. So it's like, okay, let's get also some lamb steaks, and yeah, they were great. Duck was also super cheap. So 18.59 ringgit per kilo. That's $4.38 American dollars per kilo. That is super cheap for duck. In the United States and in Switzerland, duck is pretty expensive. But I didn't buy a whole duck. I bought a bag of 1 kilogram of duck pieces because of that shitty kitchen I had in Malaysia. Yeah, here is the video about Airbnb in Malaysia, and there I talk more about the kitchen. Oh, and when we went to the hypermarket again for the very last time, I found a very lean buffalo blade steak. I haven't seen those before, so I bought that, or some of them, and I thought, yeah, it's very lean meat. Let's just sear it quickly on both sides and leave the middle raw. It should be edible like that. It shouldn't be tough. So it was super, super lean, and yes, it was so delicious. Like really just seared on both sides a little bit, inside still raw. And unfortunately, as mentioned, we only saw that at the very last time we went shopping there. So I don't know if we just haven't seen it before, or if they didn't have it. So I only got to eat it on that last day we were in Malaysia and during our transition, during our move to Singapore, because it was also in my pre-cooked food. In general, all the foods at the grocery store in Malaysia were cheaper than in Thailand. Well, we were in Mae Rim, Chiang Mai, Thailand, so cheaper than that area. But the macro market in Mae Rim, oh my gosh, I loved it so much. I was in carnivore heaven there. There I had a much bigger selection of foods available for me as a carnivore. Here is the first video about carnivore in, I think, North Thailand, Mae Rim, because we stayed there for 3 months, so quite a long time, so I had a lot to tell. So I made 2 parts. As mentioned, the seafood selection in Malaysia at that hypermarket was much bigger than the meat selection. And they also had a lot of dried fish and shrimp, so like, yeah, in bins, like, and you could take it out yourself, put it in a bag, super cool. A lot of that dried seafood and dried squid. I was looking for that because I saw a Malaysian recipe. I wanted to convert it to carnivore, of course, and there was dried squid in it, so I really wanted it. So hell yeah, I found it there. I was so super overjoyed, and I bought only 1 dried squid for that recipe, and after I made the recipe I bought 2 more. I still have 2 dried squids. I was thinking I'm gonna, because they dried, I can just put them in the luggage and yeah, they don't go bad, so I can travel around with them. I thought I'm gonna reserve those maybe for another recipe in the future or something. I usually always check the salt, and they did have Himalayan salt crystals, but fuck, there was iodine in it. And even in the salt grinders, there was iodine in it as well. Yes, Himalayan pink salt cannot cure iodine naturally by itself, but I looked it up, and those 20 ppm iodine per 100 gram of salt, so 20 ppm are 0.19 grams. That can't be natural. So it said it has 20 ppm iodine in it, and this per 100 gram of salt, that can't be natural, because Himalayan pink salt has less than 0.1 gram iodine per 100 gram of salt, and 0.1 gram, less than that, and those 20 ppm are 0.19 gram, so almost double. So it can't be natural. But it was possible to get natural salt, and we actually bought it, and it was super cheap, $1.69 for 800 grams. But it was fine pink Himalayan salt. There weren't crystals or in a grinder, so just fine Himalayan pink salt, 800 grams for $1.69. Billions, another grocery store at a different mall, a little bit further away from us, so we had to go there with a Grab, and also there, no pork at all, nothing. There's another mall about 10 minutes with a car from our Airbnb, and there was a Java Grocers, and there lots of beef, lots of pork, but the pork was in a different section with alcohol and other non-halal products. So Muslims are not allowed to consume non-halal products or even touch them. So it was at the Java Grocers in that store, but it was in a complete different section, and we even had to pay for the pork there. So we got some pork for the bak kut te I wanted to make, and we had to pay right there. And a lady there explained to me we can't bring it to the regular cashier because those are mostly Muslims that work there, and they can't even touch pork. Yes, of course the pork is wrapped up, but I mean, you never know, it could leak or whatever. So yeah, we just paid there, and they packaged it up, and it said it was paid, and we put it in a shopping cart, and then we shopped all our other stuff, paid for the other stuff, but we didn't put the pork on there. I don't think what would have happened if we would have put the pork there. They probably would have said no, or would have cleaned it afterwards. So no, that would also be disrespectful. So yeah, but we did find amazing pork, really super delicious, and good selection. So bak kut te means pork bone tea, and it's believed that it originated in China in the province of Fujian, but now it's also a traditional dish in Malaysia. It's a heritage food. It's a highly popular, iconic dish of Malaysia, a staple dish, and it is also very common in Singapore. So I looked it up, how bak kut teh traditionally is made, and it said traditionally it's made with pork ribs and other pork cuts. So I just thought that is so funny that a staple dish, a heritage dish, a traditional popular dish in Malaysia contains pork. Most of Malaysia is Muslim. Most of them don't eat pork, don't touch pork. So it's just kind of funny, interesting, weird. Anyways, I made my own carnivore version of the bak kut teh here for my other channel, Creative Carnivore Kitchen, and sometime in the future it will air there. So at the Java grocers, they also had deliciously looking Australian beef and lamb. Ooh, they looked amazing. I'm sure they didn't need a lot of cooking. I'm sure they weren't tough and stuff. They looked amazing. But they were also much more expensive, so I didn't want any of that. Just a little piece of brisket that wasn't very expensive. We bought that, but it was super, super lean, so I could even eat it rare. Because usually brisket, especially when you have like the fatty brisket, you need to cook it. You can't really eat it raw or rare. But anyways, it was good. Even though it was so lean, but yeah, of course, when something is more lean, it usually has less taste because fat equals taste. So like in Thailand, in Malaysia, there are lots of bins with seafood or meat where you can take out yourself whatever you want. I love that. But the difference was in Malaysia, there weren't any tongs or gloves. So people just took it out with their bare hands, whatever they wanted. In Georgetown on Penang Island, Paul found an Indian butcher, mutton and lamb butcher. And I was so overjoyed when I found raw goat's milk there. Yes, we went there twice to get raw goat's milk. And it was so absolutely delicious. So awesome. I loved it. Everywhere I have a chance, I make raw goat's milk or raw sheep's milk kefir and filly. But I also started drinking it just raw goat's milk, just as it is. And it looks like I tolerate it very well, and it's so delicious. I still have to figure out if I tolerate it in high quantities. We also bought some delicious mutton from that butcher store. Oh, it was so good. Oh, and they had ground mutton, so we bought that too, and it was quite fatty, really fatty. Oh, it was delicious. But it said it was 80-20. In Reno, Nevada, we usually bought ground beef 70-30, and it was just as fatty. So let me explain you 80-20. So 80% is the leanness of the meat and 20% the fat. So you get like 90-10, that's like super, super lean. Or like, yeah, 70-30, that's quite fatty. But yeah, so 80-20 is kind of in between. And as I mentioned, it was just as fatty as the 70-30, which should be much fattier. That beef that we bought in Reno, it was just as fatty, but it was so delicious. Unfortunately, I forgot to take a picture after I cooked it because it was so good. We ate it right away, everything. I was like, oh shit, I didn't even take a picture. I think we even bought it. No, we just bought it once, yes. But I'm gonna tell you how I like the ground mutton the best. Basically, the same way I like ground beef the best. So the ground meat is still frozen, and I put it in a very, very hot frying pan, and I let it sear only on one side, and really let it sear so it gets dark, not black, but it gets a really nice sear. Then I take it out and I scrape that part off, and while I scrape it off, also raw meat comes off. So I have one side super well seared and the other side still raw. Salt on it, eat it. Amazing. Yeah, sometimes I have a block of ground meat and I'm just holding it in the pan, pushing it down and like waiting. Oh, not done yet, more, yes. Scrape it off and put it back in there and eating this, and oh, it's so good. Oh, and we bought mutton ribs from that Indian butcher. Whoa, to die for. After 3 hours of cooking, oh my gosh, they were so delicious. Oh, amazing. I love getting information about food from locals, but also from anyone else from different countries. So please, if you know some infos on something about Laos, Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, Hong Kong, Taiwan, Indonesia, South Korea, Japan, Australia, New Zealand, or anywhere in Central or South America, please put them in the comment. Thank you very much. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay curious.